Okay, I'm gonna start recording.
Okay. And you guys got you and Savannah got or is that me? Do you have the beginning? Or do I
Oh
have
no,
the
you're
beginning?
good. No, you can. Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna do it?
yeah, yeah.
Awkward. Okay, let's go. I'll use it as practice.
Yeah. I don't
Oh.
know what's going on, but yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to what is this, our third meeting? Right? Yeah, so today we're learning all about the sports world of broadcasting. We have Jesse Merrick from is it News3 Las Vegas or Las Vegas News3?
News3 Las Vegas, but out here they just call it News3. But yeah, News3 Las Vegas is what you can call it.
Perfect. So yeah, he's straight from Las Vegas. Yeah, they're an affiliate of NBC, right?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, Jesse, you want to introduce yourself past that?
Yeah. So for me, basically, for some of you guys, sorry to repeat the info for you guys that heard it before, but born and raised in Southern California, grew up in Ventura, and then went to Azusa Pacific University. Played football there for 4 years. Always wanted to go pro in that, but found out real quick that was not going to happen. So I was like, all right, how do I stay connected in the sports business? And I'd always been interested in sports journalism and all that. So for me, that kind of seemed like the right fit. And I kind of went for it. Had a couple internships in LA. Did that for about 2.5 years after I graduated, working at KABC as well. And then also at NFL Network. Got my first job in the business in Grand Junction, Colorado. The CBS and Fox affiliate out there. Did that for 2 years, covering the Broncos when they went to the Super Bowl and all that stuff. That was wild. And then there you also cover high school sports like crazy. You cover, Division II sports is what we did there. Minor league baseball. From there, I went and took a job as the sports director at WAAY TV in Huntsville, Alabama, which sounds like more of the middle of nowhere than Grand Junction does, but I promise it's not. It's like a 100-market jump. And it was a big move for me just to get the sports director job to be like the head of the sports department. So I did that for 2 years, working in Alabama, covering Alabama and Auburn, SEC football, everything like that. Went to a couple national championships with Alabama, covered SEC basketball, obviously, that comes along with that. And did that for 2 years. Took a job in LA real quick doing news, found out I hated news, left that job, and was unemployed for about 6 months. Then I got this job here in Vegas almost 2 years ago, actually. My contract's coming up in about 3 weeks now. So I've been here for about 2 years now in Vegas. Obviously, we cover the Raiders. This is a picture that one of our photogs painted for us with like a mustard or a ketchup bottle. It was crazy. He does almost like abstract stuff. We cover the Aces, which is the WNBA team out here. The Las Vegas Lights is a USL soccer team. And then we obviously have the Golden Knights for the NHL. I've got my office is decked out with, you can kind of see, that's one of their jerseys. Up there, we cover minor league baseball, AAA. It's the Aviators. So you guys will see once you get into this business or any form of news, your office gets decorated with all the stuff that you cover. I have a bunch of friends that have credentials everywhere. I've got a drawer. I'd show you guys, but the computer won't move. I have a drawer that's stacked to the brim full of credentials. That was advice that my mentor gave me, was hold every credential you get, keep them, save them, because eventually those are like memories for you. But yeah, long story short, that's kind of how I got here and what I do.
Cool. No, Thanks for that, man. That actually pumped me up because I don't necessarily want to get into, broadcasting for sports, but, I'm a PR major. So yeah. I want to stay in the sports world. That would be like one of two paths. Mm-hmm. And obviously I'm growing up here in LA and I'm like, how the heck do I just get in there? And that's actually my first question for you.
Yeah.
Was it hard just breaking into the sports world?
Seems very hard. Oh. It's really hard. One, it was hard for me to get my first internship. So I was a junior and I played football in college. So for me, my window of time that I had free wasn't very much. So I did my first internship end of my junior year, going into my senior year that summer. And I applied to literally every TV station in Southern California, you name it. I even one time, because I was so desperate for an internship, went and interviewed at this insurance firm because I was like, I need the credit for my class. I can't get it. And the guy was like, you're great. We'd love to bring you on, but you don't want to do this. So go do something that you want. So we're not going to bring you in. And I was devastated And then like a month later, I got my first internship at Fox 11. So like my advice on that is just like throw tons of irons in the fire, apply everywhere. You go on their websites. There's always a thing that's either like about us or work for us or whatever it is. That's where the internship links are going to be. You go and find them in there. Then after that, once I graduated, for me, it took me 2.5 years to get my first job. And like, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I was applying for that entire 2.5 years. Like at my school, we didn't have broadcast journalism. So we didn't have like a newscast we were doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like a real, I had one, but it was horrible. And so I started taking classes at COC and with one of our producers, Dave Brill, he's a sports producer at KABC.
Yeah.
He teaches the class up there. So he was like, hey man, come up here. You'll build your reel, do that. And so that was about after I had graduated, like a year after that is when I went and did that, got the reel, and then was sending the reel out. And it took me about a year to get a job. And I had some offers here and there. I remember, I think I told you guys last time, so sorry for those of you that heard it, but I got my first offer was in Montana, Great Falls, Montana. They wanted to hire me and they're like, we'll give you $30,000. And I laughed. I was like, yeah, all right. I'm not going to go make $30,000 in Montana. Well, the joke was on me because my first job was for $20,000 in Colorado. But that's kind of how it is. You start out making nothing and then you make nothing again in another market. And then hopefully you jump and make more money, you know, wherever you go. And it's worth it once you get to that point and you get somewhere you're happy and making more money where you can like save and kind of start your life as a real adult, you know? Oh, okay. Yeah. So Savannah, you interviewed for the job in Montana. Yeah. So don't get me wrong, Montana is great. It just wasn't for me. I was like, man, it's too cold. I don't want to go there. But I have a bunch of friends that started there. My sports director here, actually, he started in Montana as well. And he loved it there. But yeah, so it took me a long time. I had a list on my phone that was like hundreds of TV stations.
Yeah.
Of all the ones that I applied to, and none of them got back to me. Like, it's not even like a, hey, sorry, we're going to go in a different direction, or hey, we're not interested. It was just nothing. So like, you're sitting there hoping, okay, maybe I hear something back. Maybe they're going to get back to me. And I mean, you don't get anything. Because think about it. All the kids that are in your guys' position that have a reel or sending it out, they're getting hundreds of them each day when a job comes open. Because it's a very competitive field. And it's like that whether you're getting into broadcasting, PR, whatever it is, it's a very competitive field and it's tough to get into. But don't let that intimidate you. The best way to do it is getting that internship, making the connections, whether it's like, you know, staying in touch with people like me or people that are way cooler than me, have better jobs than me, that are more connected and anything like that. Like, stay in touch with them, email them, text them, whatever it is, get in touch with them, keep the relationship going, make it so that you're not only hitting them up when you need something, have a real relationship with them, and they'll be the people that will say, hey, you know, here's this, here's that. You know, from my internship, I started working at KBC, and I met Kurt Sandoval, who's my mentor now.
Oh,
he,
nice.
After all that time, helped me get my first job because I actually started, so his old station that he started at, like way back in the day, was the one in Grand Junction that I went to. He knew the sports director there because he was a former intern at KBC, and he was also being mentored by Kurt. So that's kind of, you know, basically Josh was his name. Josh left, and Josh was like, hey, dude, I'm going to get you this job, like whatever it takes. So like him, Kurt Sandoval, and then Alex Michelson, who at the time was a reporter at KBC. He's now an anchor at Fox 11 out there in LA. He's a wonderkind. That kid, he's like only a year or two older than me, and he's got his own show anchoring in LA. He's a beast. Hardest working guy I've ever met in my life. And he started in San Diego, was there for 2 years, then went to LA. So like, it's possible. It's very rare. He was a beast. He was on a totally different level. You know, he was like valedictorian at USC. Like, and again, this guy, I work a lot. This guy puts me to shame. He works like 14 to 16-hour days every day and doesn't complain about it one bit. And that was when he was a reporter to, I'm sure he does it now as an anchor. But long story short, to get back to it, so Alex, Kurt, and Josh all emailed the news director in Grand Junction and said, you are hiring this guy. You don't have a choice. This is why. And they like laid out all these reasons why. And that again was from my internship and getting connected with Kurt. Kurt then in turn had connected me with Josh. Crazy story about all of that. Josh and I stayed in touch and have over the years. Josh got me this job because he interviewed for it here. And he was like, it's not for me. He was the sports director in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And he was looking at coming here, and he was just like, you know, I think I can make a bigger jump. And he did. He's now in Miami. Yeah. And he was like, but I can get this one for you. He's like, I think it'd be perfect for you. And so Josh connected me with the news director. Rest is history. I'm here. I've been here for 2 years now, and I've been very happy with it. So, just simply by getting that internship at KBC and being friendly with Kurt and developing that relationship and talking to him all the time. Because when I was at KBC, I was a sports intern, and then I got hired to be like basically a glorified sports intern there. And I was like a production assistant, but for all intents and purposes, I was an intern. And then they moved me over to news to do news production assistant, work on the assignment desk, all that. But I still made it a point to go over and hang out with the sports guys because I was like, I want to be a sports guy. These guys are cool. They've been doing this forever. And I think they realized that I was driven, so they helped me out. So literally just by doing that, it's gotten me 2 jobs and it's kept me employed and a roof over my head. So, again, it's tough, but make the connections and just be a good person, man, and it'll work out for you.
Nice. You actually answered my next question about the connections. Like, how important are they? I want to open the floor to like anyone else who wants to ask a question because I've this is sports, so I have a ton of questions that I could ask. But does
feel free to
else
ask me stuff that's like not even sports related. Like if I can answer it, I totally will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't. Like, and I'll tell you maybe somewhere you can get an answer.
I actually have a quick question. Actually, so I'm a intern at KBC right now, and I've been interning for like the past year now, and I'm like the glorified like intern, like production assistant, but like intern. And so they want to keep me on for like a 3rd semester again, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to be like the production assistant or if I should just start applying for like MMA jobs. And I'm very confused on like the whole situation. So I was just kind of like wondering like, what's your advice and like what do you think I should like go for?
So they want to bring you on for another semester, like to hire you as a PA, or okay? And are you done? When would you be graduated already, or what would your situation be?
So I would stay for like summer as well, and so I graduate in May, which is in like 3 months.
Yeah, crazy. Good luck. Honestly, take the job and apply for MMJ jobs. I had friends of mine that I worked with, and this might be the part that you want to edit out of what you post online if it gets back to them, but I had friends of mine that took the job while they were interviewing for MMJ jobs, worked there for a week, and then left to go to start their on-camera career. And honestly, it's not great. They're not like, oh, sweet, bye. Like we just, spent a month training you or whatever it is. But like at the end of the day, they get it. Like they know what you want to do. They know that you're interested in this. You obviously intern there. So like they're like, hey, look, you're gonna be trying to get a job on air somewhere. So they're prepared for it. So don't worry about that. Like take the job as a backup and also just to get paid and continue the connections that you make there. That's what I did. I started working there, I think 5 days after I graduated or something like that.
Yeah.
And started that whole process, but was still looking to build the reel and do all that. And I over the time that I was there, I couldn't tell you how many friends of mine were PAs that left right away. I mean, like no joke. I got to the point where I was like the senior PA or whatever and was like training people. And so I'd train someone for like 3-4 weeks and then they'd be like, oh, I just got a reporter job. Bye. And I'm like, damn it. Like I just trained you, which I was like so happy for them. And I'm still in touch with tons of them. But I was like, we just finished training you. Now I got to train some other person, but it's okay. They know that's going to happen. So definitely I would say take the job if you got it offered. Because it's a glorified internship.
Yeah.
But man, you're going to learn so much more. And you're just going to learn, like, for lack of a better word, it's the grunt work of the business. But like you learn to appreciate it so much more when you get into my position, when you don't have to do it anymore. And you're like, man, I remember scrolling prompter. I remember doing this or that, like all that stuff, and you have an appreciation for those people that do it, for the people here that roll prompter, for our floor directors, for the people that get us scripts and things like that. Like I appreciate them so much because I know what goes into that. And I know it's not easy. And you're in that position where you're like, I want to get this career, but I'm learning from the ground up. Like it'll help you a ton. So definitely take it and then still apply.
I just wasn't sure because I don't want to burn bridges. And so I'm like, I don't know if I get like offended if I did that.
No, not at all. Like take the job and, be open with them that you're applying if they ask and things like that. And, they'll be cool with it. Out of curiosity, who's the person that does the hiring for that now?
It's through Disney. So
like, is there a who was like in charge of you guys? like the PAs, do you know? Because it used to be Millie Martinez, and I don't know if I don't think she's there anymore.
No, she's not.
Personally, my boss is David Ono and Julia Cipher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
David's the man. You got to tell David Ono I said hey.
I will. I
Yeah.
absolutely love working with both of them. They're super awesome.
Yeah, Julia's cool too. I know David a little better, but I know both of them. They're both awesome.
Yeah, I wish I would work with Dave Brill. That would be super awesome. But you know, I'm not.
Yeah, you don't really want to work with Brill. I love Dave. I'm kidding, kind of.
I'll show him this video.
Yeah. Tell him to call me too. It's been like 4 years.
I know. He's so bad at texting, but thank you.
Yes, I am too.
Advice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Let's see. Savannah has a question.
What's up?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask what tips you would have for improving your reel, because I made a reel and I didn't think it was very good, but I put it up like a week ago and I've heard from 2 different stations.
Good.
So I'm just wondering like what your suggestions are for adding to it and making it better before I start actually applying at places.
Yeah, honestly, just keep doing it. You know, and even if you think your reel is set, keep practicing. Like it's all about reps and getting those, you know, the different repetitions with it and working on your on-air thing, and like be honest with yourself about what's good and what's not, and send it to people. You know, I mean, you guys, I think if some of you guys don't have my email, Jesse, all you guys, whoever has it, go ahead and send it out to the other people in here. You know, feel free to send me your reel. Like, don't be nervous about it. Like, I'm not going to rip it apart. Like, I'll be honest with you on things that need help and stuff like that. But like, have people look at your reel. Cause at the end of the day, you know, you're sending it out to news directors and they're going to look at your reel. Wouldn't you rather have other people look at it first and say, okay, this is good, this is bad, you know, so that when you're applying to a job, you can feel confident and know, hey, look, this is going to stand out and it'll catch the news director's eye. So yeah, definitely send it to me, any of you guys that want to, and other people in the business that you know too, and even with each other. You know, it's always good to have a second set of eyes on it, because you're always going to be your worst critic. You're going to be like, oh, this is horrible. And then someone else is going to look at it and they're not going to notice any of the things that you say are bad. You know, even now to this day, I watch all my stuff over, and certain days I'm like, God, why did I say it like that? Or like, why did I do that? Or I shouldn't have worn that, or whatever, you know? And so you never stop improving. You never stop looking at it. So keep that like critical eye and let as many people as possible look at it and give you that critique for sure.
Cool. No, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyone else have any questions? Because like I said, I have a ton.
I put one on the chat. If you have like any of your reels to show us an example.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Give me a sec. Let me look for it. It's probably, I have my first reel. I can show you that one. Like first one, like from Grand Junction.
Cool.
Okay.
That got me my second job here. I can.
Jesse, is this the correct email? I put it in the chat for you. I don't know if that's the.
Yep, that's the right one.
Okay, sounds good.
Is there an email that I can send this to, or how can I show you guys this?
Is it a link?
Yeah.
Go ahead and put it in the chat, and I could share my screen.
Okay, cool. So then here, I'll do it on here. One sec. This will be great. Nice and embarrassing for me.
But we are gonna learn from this.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with doing it. It's if you type my name into YouTube, it's on there. But here, let me pull one up.
You know what? Actually, we had Sammy Gerbers on here last week. She was kind of like showing us her first reel as well, and it wasn't cringy for us. It was really good, but like, kept saying that she was like, "Oh, it's so cringy for me," and I was like,
"Oh yeah, we all hate looking at it. It's never fun to look at it, but hey, you know, it's all good stuff. It's fun to look back on it." Let's see.
Like what Savannah said, it was really great. Like it wasn't like she's such a good reporter. And I'm sure you are too. I've seen some of your reels, so I mean, I was.
There you go. That's the reel that got me my second job in the business. If I had my very first one from like before I started working in the business, I would totally show you guys. But it's on like a hard drive that doesn't even like work or let me in anymore. I wanna figure it out because I want some of those clips. But yeah, so this was the reel that I put together after working in the business for like about a year and a half. You want to start building, you want to have your reel done about at least 6 months before your contract's up. so that you can send it out. But yeah, I'll let you play and listen to my first like big boy reel, I guess, if you want to say, from when I left my first job.
Okay.
Oh, love it already.
You, Madhouse, you know how much Colorado loves their baseball. This game just ended, and the Yavapai Rough Riders are your 2016 JUCO World Series champions. Take a look at the dog pile that is just wrapping up now behind me. Coming up in sports, you guys just got done watching it, but the Broncos are going to Super Bowl 50. Adam, Lucas, and I are going to break down the game. There's still a lot of partying going on. You take a look behind me, you can see their fans all over the place down here. Thousands of Rockies fans still enjoying the two-day ceremonies. Really set the tone for what's to come. As you can see, all these fans over here as well. We got all the Sanjak fans that are loving this right now. Well, they had two quarterbacks, but that quickly changed after Peyton retired and Brock, well, I mean, he split for Houston. So if he keeps that up for the rest of the season, well, pretty soon everybody's going to be a Broncos fan. The whole city of Denver is just rocking the purple pinstripes. They traded in that orange and blue from the football season. We got Coach Collar here, one of the assistant coaches for San Jacinto. Going to ask you a couple questions here, Coach. First and foremost, championship Saturday, what was the message to the team prior to the game? So now we're going to look to continue to build on that success and turn their fortunes around at home, because the last time they were on this court, they lost to CSU Pueblo, something they don't do very often. Enough about those guys. We're from Broncos country, so we're going to talk some Broncos, and then it falls on the defense's shoulders. And would you have it any other way if you're a Broncos fan? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. Outscoring their opponents 175-12. Yeah, that is a real stat, people.
You like that, Jesse?
Yeah, man.
Long. He is going for that elusive four-peat. Peyton coming back.
I'm gonna pause it for now. But
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So here, for reference, I can show you guys my current reel if you want right now.
Ooh, nice.
Just so you can see how. Hopefully you see how much I've changed. Let's
So
see.
that was a cringy reel? Oh, man.
Yeah.
like, oh man, I don't want to send you mine now.
Well, I thought, to me, realize I've been doing this now for like 8 years. So that was when I had done it for like a year and a half. So I was,
That was so
yeah, I was green. I'm still green. I'm still learning, you know, but, one sec. Let's see. What the heck? Why is it not? Let's see. No. There we go.
I'm gonna make you a co-host as well, so you could share your screen if you want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing with us, man.
Yeah, hey, of course. I have no problem laughing at myself to help to help people out.
I was more so laughing because it reminds me of Stephen A's show. It's like your reaction was just like explosive, and I'm like, oh man, so everyone can do that. That's cool.
Oh yeah. I try to have energy. I talk super fast even when I'm talking normally, and I have a lot of energy, so I try to let that come through.
Cool.
Here, I'm gonna act like I'm 50 years old. How do you share your screen on here?
Very good.
There should be a little green arrow at the bottom in the middle of the screen.
Okay, yeah. The big thing that says screen share. Okay.
That's it.
We're all learning, man. We're all
Yeah. Okay, so are you guys seeing? Oh wait, no, hang on. Okay, there we go. You guys are seeing that now, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so here, this is the real. So basically, here, long story short, and we can talk about agent stuff later if you guys want, but this is my agent's page. And my reels, plural, live on here because she's got one that's like a quick look, one that's my sportscast, and one that's me like out in the field reporting. And like the info on the side here of like, my, career in the business, all that stuff, full resume. You can send it to somebody, and this is our whole site, and you can go back through and see everybody that she represents. But that's what most agents will do for you, at least a good agent will. So here is the new reel compared to the first one.
I'm going to shoot from the hip on this one and go rapid fire through 3 key plays from today's game. Whew, I mean, come on, that's got to give you the chills, right? It's almost nighttime, and for real this time, the game that actually matters. Hey, talk about sending the boys off in style. The medieval maniacs wouldn't let the boys take off for the bubble without letting them know that all of Las Vegas is behind them. Mike Tyson said it best, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, obviously, that fist to the face has come in the form of COVID-19, which yesterday derailed the Mountain West season. Keep an eye out on this DB right here. He bites on Darren Waller, who settled down in the middle of the field leaving all this space right here for Hunter Renfrow. I could sit up here and talk about Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs and how good they are, but you already know that. So let's give you some news that you can use. Look, there's no denying that there are bigger things going on in the world right now than just sports. But if you're a sports fan like me, you can't deny that this week has sucked. And obviously you're trying to fill a void now left by all these leagues put on pause. Come on, I couldn't help myself. It felt fitting for tonight because after all, we're talking playoffs. The Aces try to snag win number 8 out of their last 9 games. We'll have the highlights and reaction for you guys later tonight at 11. By now, you've heard the news. No fans for the Raiders in 2020. We'll dive into that in a few because we got to start with the good news today because these guys were back in action tonight in a game that actually counted for something. Hey, I can only hope all of you at home enjoyed your Thanksgiving as much as we all know that Schmitty did. With 13 seconds to play, they brought the house, blitzing 7 guys and spied Derek Carr with this walked-up safety here. You know, Derek Carr has given us a lot this week, whether it's the crazy audibles.
The glasses.
That's there. Straight into your soul. That's intense.
Hey, folks, in case you didn't know, this guy's sharp.
Oh, Dia de los Muertos. Have to bust it out again. Come on,
there we go.
Bradley Chubb, Von Miller,
All right.
and Derek Wolfe. Scary bunch there. They helped the Broncos.
But yeah, so that's the current reel. Okay, wait, how do I? Okay, stop screen share. There we go.
I see the difference.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a huge, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of that reel. Don't tell my agent, but you know, this last year's been weird, so we haven't been able to be live a lot. Like, I like my reel to have a lot of live shots and things like that. So a lot of those we haven't been able to have, or they've just been kind of like, because there's no fans, there's nothing crazy like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys could tell just the difference in like comfortability and you know, my pacing and things like that. You know, those are all things that kind of change over the years. At first, again, like I said, I talk fast all the time as it is. But I mean, when I first started, before I started working in Grand Junction, I was like, blah, 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 and like you slow it down, you start to figure it out. And like, even now in that reel, I'm sure you guys are like, man, he's still talking fast. I feel like I'm talking in slow motion at times when I'm doing it up there, because like I have to slow myself down because I do talk so fast as it is.
gotcha. You actually transitioned into my next question perfectly again. It really looked like you were just ad-libbing, like you were just talking. Like, obviously there's a prompter, or do you have like a certain style where you just like talk about what's coming through your mind? Because it really looked like that. Or like, how do you practice that? Like, that was great.
Yeah. I want it to sound like I'm ad-libbing because I'm not. Sometimes I am in some of the things. You know, the things where I was at the screen, you know, pointing to what the defense was doing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I scripted out just for like closed captioning purposes. But I'm ad-libbing that while I'm up there. And honestly, you just the best way with that is you get comfortable doing it over and over and over again, you know? And again, it's those reps and knowing what it is that you're talking about, whether it's news, sports, weather, and when you're a PR person talking about like pitching it to somebody, you know, it's just a matter of like, if you're confident and you know what you're talking about, you're going to be able to spit it out like a normal conversation, you know? And a lot of times, like when you're doing live shots and stuff like that, you know, you'll script those out, but the best way to do that is give yourself bullet points. And I learned this from a friend of mine, actually, he's a CSUN guy, Jonathan Gonzalez, who works at NBC in LA. He's another buddy of mine. We worked at KBC together, and he was in Colorado while I was in Colorado and stuff. Like, Jonathan's my guy. I love that dude.
He's actually a guest speaker next week.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you got to tell him I said, hey, I love that dude. I've been horrible about keeping in touch with him. I got to reach out to him. But, you know, he is one of the best reporters I know, honestly. I put him in the same class as Alex Michelson in terms of just like how good they are at what they do. And he's an amazing storyteller. And he basically, one day I remember, I think one day I was actually just in Denver for fun on an off day, and I ran across him doing a live shot. And I'll never forget this. We were just like, you know, I walked up to him, and I was still super young, that had maybe been in the business for like 6 months or something like that. And I'm talking to him, you know, and I was like, dude, you have to let go. Like, your live shot's coming up. He's like, oh, no, I got plenty of time. And then 30 seconds later, he's like, oh, wait, hang on. And goes and does this live shot without even, like, sitting there practicing. And I just remember being like, and I'm like, what, you weren't practicing? Like, you just went and did it? He goes, dude, I know what I'm talking about. And he's like, all I got to do these bullet points. I hit the bullet points, and I just talk. And I was like, damn, you're right. Like, that's what it should be. It should be a conversation. So, like, I always try for me, I try to make it be like a conversation with the viewer, like we're sitting on the couch or we're sitting in a bar talking sports or whatever it is. Or, again, if you guys are talking about news, whatever it is, make it a conversation so that it doesn't feel like you're talking at the viewer, like you're talking with them. Like, one thing that people always say is like, okay, you're covering a news story. What's the first question someone's going to ask? Answer that question for them and you'll have done your job, and so the other thing that I'm like big on, like quotes or just different weird little things that like inform, educate, and entertain. That's how I kind of try and do my job. So you want to inform people, you want to educate them, which are basically kind of the same things, but not, like you're informing them, you're giving them the facts, educating them, teaching them something new, and then entertaining them, doing it in a way that's fun. And you're not always gonna be able to do that if you're talking about a death or something like that, obviously. Yeah. But you want to try and be unique in the way you present things. Here at our station, we've got multiple, like that monitor that I was standing in front of when I'm in the middle of it. We can put video in one side, we can put pictures in another, we can put full screens in it. So like I try and interact with it and do stuff like that on a daily basis. Like tonight I'm anchoring, my sports director's out at the game, so like I'll do some stuff with that and try and get creative. But yeah, it's you start to get to the point where you can ad lib and you sound like you're ad libbing even when you're reading, when you're comfortable with what you're talking about, really.
Cool. No, I mean, like you definitely sound like it now. I mean, like, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you set goals for yourself. What's your overall goal in the sports broadcasting world?
Yeah. So for me, the goal, and I haven't been able to break into it yet. It's been tough. I'm kind of working on it, but I want to be doing play-by-play. I've had multiple people come up to me and say that I'd be great for play-by-play, and a lot of it is because I talk so fast and that they're like, you'd be able to keep up with the game action and do all that. And the opportunity just hasn't presented itself yet. In each of the markets I've been in, guys have been entrenched in those jobs, and they've been doing them for a long time. And I love what I'm doing now, but local news for me, working as a sports anchor at a local news station is not the end game. I want to do play-by-play in the NFL. That's my ultimate goal. Either that or work for the NFL Network or ESPN, whatever it is, where I'm covering the NFL or college football full-time. Football is my thing. I love it. I enjoy every sport. I love covering hockey, all that stuff, but I'm not as passionate about those sports as I am football. So for me, I want to cover football full-time, and the dream would be to do play-by-play in the NFL. And I just saw, I do know Ashley Brewer. So she was an intern when I first started working behind the scenes as a PA. So I do know her. We chatted here and there. I don't know her super well, but yeah, she's one person I want to reach out to. I've got some connections at ESPN and stuff like that. It's just tough because once you get to the level where you could possibly go to a network, think about how competitive it is to get into it just in general. Okay, so you graduate, there's this many jobs. Okay, from your second job to your third job to network is like that. It's nuts. And so I'm kind of at the point where I've told my agent, like, hey, look, I'm either going to go from here to a top 10 market or network. It's the only thing that makes sense, especially here in Vegas, as many sports as we have. It's only a matter of time till the NBA comes here. We're kind of a hotbed for sports, so it doesn't make sense for me to go somewhere unless it's a really good spot. So, long story short, the ultimate goal for me would be to do play-by-play in the NFL.
Very cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I love being at games. I love the energy of it. It fires me up. Like, I already have a lot of energy, but like when I'm at a game, I'm like, like I'm going nuts. So that would be a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm reading through some of the comments on here.
That's perfect. That's what I'm doing too.
Consider a YouTube channel. I have considered a YouTube channel. I'm actually, I can't talk too much about it, but it's kind of in the works. I'm trying to get some things figured out contractually to be able to do some of that. So stay tuned. There'll be more on that front, hopefully within the next 6 months.
Nice. You guys should follow him on Instagram, people. Like,
Instagram, Twitter, seriously, yeah. That's one thing I do ask. And you guys that don't already follow me. I'll follow you back. I'm trying to up the followers on Instagram. I've been bad on Instagram for like a long time. I just really started picking it up once the pandemic hit because I'm trying to grow that following. So
nice. Well, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any more questions.
If I miss any questions too, someone let me know and I'll try and answer whatever I can.
Okay, we're doing good. Cool. So my next question has to do with, the obvious scenario, like, COVID's still going on. Everything's still going on. How unstable is it right now? Or is it unstable? Or is that like
Just so unstable in the sense of like jobs and hiring, or
just starting with that and then going into you know, like, because everything's changing. I mean, like, you have to come up with stories on your own sometimes, right? Because
so with that, I'll answer that question. So like when everything ended, like when sports was on pause, we were all like, holy, you know what, but we don't have any sports to talk about. And like at our station, one of the reasons I love it here is we don't do a ton of storytelling in the sense of like sports features. We do them every now and then, but and there's people that they love doing that. I personally don't. I like to be sports and do that, you know, and talk X's and O's and dive into like why things happen in games and stuff like that. We do a lot of that here. So when that ended, it was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? We can't talk about that. So we started doing features and reaching out to athletes and things like that and doing interviews on Zoom. So for that whole time, we did all kinds of interviews on Zoom. The one clip that you guys saw in there where I'm sitting at my old desk and I was like, you know, we can't deny this is all sucked for a sports fan or whatever. That was one day I was just like, my story was so that whole thing, it's actually on my Instagram account if you guys want to see the whole thing. But my story was, what are sports fans supposed to do? Like, you know, if we want to watch sports, what can you do? What can we do? And the whole story of that day started because AT&T Sportsnet, who broadcasts the Golden Knights games, they started re-airing all the games. So I was like, okay, what are other leagues or networks and everything doing? So I basically piled that all in, and I could have very easily gone into our nice studio and sat up there and said, hey, if you're bored, here you can go here, 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 and just done it that way. I was like, how can I do it different and make it fun and interesting? So like I'd started off with all like nat pops for those guys that don't know. It's like natural sound. It's like of the calls of like, you know, on ESPN, on CBS Sports, on Fox Sports, where they're all like, you know, the NBA canceled, the NHL, like it's them saying that. And then I cut away to me at the desk talking about how much it sucked. And then I dive into all the different things and I talk about how you probably wash your hands a million times, hand sanitize your desk, whatever, and just try to have fun with it, you know? And so we had to do a lot of stuff like that, or talk to local athletes and see what they were doing, or guys that were playing internationally. So we had to come up with a lot of stories that way. In terms of the flip side of that, in terms of the business, it's totally changed everything, how we do it. It's all, again, via Zoom. For us, I have not talked to an athlete face-to-face. Maybe twice. I've talked to an athlete face-to-face twice since all this has happened. And one of them was Jason Witten when he signed with the Raiders. And the only reason we did that is because he happened to be speaking to the police and everything like that out here about how they can be better in their, you know, race relations and things like that. We were talking to him after that. And he just happened to be like, hey, we'll do the interview here. But we were like 10 feet away. We had everything set up on the mic flags, mic stand and everything, talking to him. But I haven't done a one-on-one interview where I'm standing next to someone in over a year. So it's changed it in that sense for sure, which I can't wait till we can get back to doing that, because you can't get the same interaction and the same, like, you know, emotion out of people for that. And then here, I saw a question, so let me get to that real quick, and then I'll hop back onto this one. I have covered something out of the U.S. I was actually sent to Canada last February, right before the pandemic actually hit and shut everything down, when the Golden Knights fired their head coach, and then they hired their new coach when they were in Ottawa. So I had come into work, and I was talking about how the coach had been fired, and they hired this new coach. And I'm in the studio getting ready to tape something, and our news director runs in, and she's like, "Do you have your passport?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got my passport. Like, you know, we cover hockey. Like, I gotta be able to like go to Canada if we need to." And she goes, "Well, good, you're going to Canada tonight." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Tape this thing, go home, pack, and go to the airport." So like within, you know, an hour of me thinking what my day was gonna be, and I was gonna go home and, you know, wake up in America, I was like, nope, I'm going to Canada, and I'm going to be spending 48 hours there. It was the wildest 48 hours I've had in a long time. Go to Canada, go talk, go meet the coach, go do all this stuff. And that was like the last big thing that I covered in person until everything got shut down. So yeah, so I've been to Canada and covered that. That was crazy. I haven't been to any other countries other than that, but it was fun. But in terms of the business and the outlook, it's been interesting. You know, again, my contract's up in March, and a lot of jobs aren't there. You know, a lot of stations aren't hiring. You know, in smaller markets, I don't think you, like the ones that you guys will be going for your first jobs, for those of you that are looking to get into this business particularly, you'll probably be okay, because most of those stations will still be looking for people. But when you start to move up, the jobs disappear because stations are trying to cut back. and save money, because a lot of stations were hurt really bad because advertisers pulled all their money because they didn't know what the heck was going to happen. So that's where they lost a lot of their money. And then in turn, you know, the ratings went through the roof because, you know, the thing that's super weird and is horrible, but when there's a pandemic or when there's, you know, really hard times or there's a depression, things like that, people stay home and they watch TV. So ratings go through the roof. But in this instance, the advertisers were like, everything's getting shut down. We don't know what to do. We're going to lose money. So we're pulling that money out. So that's where it hurt all of us. So like we get bonuses and things like that. Those were put on hold for a while. And then a lot of people in other stations were cut. My girlfriend works at a station down here. They fired, I think, 4 or 5 people, or laid off, you know, 4 or 5 people, and they're not replacing some of those positions. Others they are. In other markets, they get rid of higher paid talent, you know, and bring people in for less, things like that. Like that's kind of happened all over. And a lot of stations don't necessarily know when we're going to get out of this. So some of them have put hiring freezes on. So there's not going to be jobs, or at least they have openings and they're going to fill them, but they're not going to fill them until 2 months from now, 3 months from now, whatever it is. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I'll be honest. Don't let this freak you guys out, but it's not a great time to be looking for another job in this business, and not as a new person. Again, I think the small markets, I think, will be fine, but it's not a great time to have your contract coming up or be looking for work, just because, one, people probably don't want to move and leave where they're at because of that uncertainty. And 2, people, you know, are trying to figure out what they're going to do financially at stations and things like that. And they're not able to spend as much on people to bring them in. Also too, actually, a lot of stations aren't flying people in for interviews. They're doing the interviews on Zoom, and you have to take the job sight unseen. I mean, if it's a city that you've never been to, boom, you just go if you want that job. I mean, it's different. You know, your first job in the business, you'll probably take that job without having been there. I had never been to Grand Junction, and I took it without going. I just did everything on the phone with them. But that isn't common once you move up in the business from your second, third, fourth job. You know, every other job that I've taken, I have gone there. You've done an interview in person. They do like a run through with you where you do like an audition on set and do like a read or whatever it is. So like for me, I did a sports cast, and then you go around, you meet everybody, and really it's all one big interview. If you guys do this, make sure you're on it the entire time. Don't let your guard down. People are going to try and get you to do that. All a big interview. Even if you're talking to, you know, someone that just started 2 days ago, the news director is going to talk to them and ask them what you were like and things like that. So like if you're at a station interviewing for a job, no matter who you talk to, treat it that way, because it's an interview the whole time. But then they'll take you out to lunch and things like that. But again, be yourself. You know, I mean, I was having fun joking around with my GM and my news director now, but at the time I was joking around with them when I came, because I was like, I want them to know who I am and my personality and, you know, things like that. And he told me I looked like I was 5 years old. So, you know, I was like, hey, he's got a good, you know, personality. He can make fun of people, so I can give it back to him. And I think he appreciated that. But yeah, so it's a weird time for sure, for many different reasons. But don't let that discourage any of you guys from getting into it. You know, this will pass and things will rebound. It's just a matter of when that will be, you know, much like the rest of the world as a whole.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, thanks for that, man. That's super detailed. Awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, I can talk, so
no,
I try not to talk too long. I do a radio hit every couple of times a week, and sometimes they're like, I can hear them. They're like, okay, that's enough. Let us toss the break.
No, that's perfect. I mean, you know, like I said, I still have questions. I mean, but we are running out of time a little bit, unless you have time to stay. But
I've got time. Yeah, I'm good till around 6:30. So if you guys want to, I'm good as long as you need. If you guys need to take off, you let me know.
Cool. Well, looks like we do have a question. Sophia says, was it hard for you to leave California at first? Yeah.
Yes, it was. It sucked leaving California. I was born and raised in Southern California, very close to my family. You know, all my friends out there. I had never, you know, again, born and raised out there. I had left every summer. I would go to Florida and live with my grandparents basically for like 3 months to see them. But other than that, you know, I'm born and raised out there. So it was weird. It was tough. It's a scary thing to do. You know, you don't know what to do. You know, a lot of times, I mean, I was in a relationship, a 5-year relationship that I ended to go dive into this business because I didn't want to do the distance and it wasn't going to work that way. You know, you have to sacrifice a lot to do this at times and to basically pick up your whole life and leave and go somewhere else. But if you really want to do this and it's, it's important, you can. And that's not to say that a relationship can't work long distance. Like, you can totally make it work. I have friends that have done it. But yeah, it was scary. It was definitely scary leaving California to do that. Because you're walking into so much unknown. And again, that first job, you're probably going to take it without having been to the city, without having met your boss face to face, without having met your coworkers. Like, you're going to go there and be looking for an apartment the first time, like, hey, where the heck am I going to live? And is it safe to live in this spot or that spot? Like, it's a new experience. But man, I can't tell you how much I grew and learned from that. I mean, it was awesome. Those first 2 years in the business, again, you make no money. Like I said, I told you guys, I made $20,000 that year, and it was, man, it sucked. So make sure you're saving so that you don't like have to live, off of food stamps basically. But it's worth it, man, because it's almost like paid grad school. You're in it with all your other coworkers. You guys all become friends. You go do fun stuff on the weekends, whatever your weekend is, whether that's a Wednesday, Thursday, or a Saturday, Sunday, if you're lucky. And you guys everyone's so energetic, and you're all like trying to do it and get to the next level or whatever it is. And it's a fun experience. So it's worth it. Scary, but worth it. Let's see. So far, I've heard from places in Montana, Wisconsin, and you'll feel like you'll be homesick. You'll definitely be homesick. 100%. There's no way around that. But you have to go into it knowing that it's not going to be forever. A big reason of why I love being in Vegas is I'm so close to home. Even during the pandemic and stuff, I've been able to drive home and go see my family for holidays and things like that, which maybe you should have or shouldn't have done it. I've been really safe with COVID, so I felt comfortable doing that. But, it sucked. It sucked being in that far away. It sucked being in Alabama, which was even further away. To get a little more personal, our family home burned down. Some of you guys, I think I might have said it last time I was on here, but our family home burned down when I was in Alabama, and I had never felt more helpless not being able to be there for my family, because you have to plan and get on a flight and do all of that, and I couldn't go right away to go do it, because had I gone and flown back, we had nowhere to go. My family had nowhere to go. So like, you just kind of feel hopeless in times where something bad happens, which life happens. You can't be there for it. So those things are tough, but you have to realize the bigger picture of why you're doing it. And if your why is big enough and real enough, it's all going to be worth it. And if you're good enough, you'll get back to where you're closer to home. You take that first job, and it's pretty much wherever the heck you can get a job. From there, you get to choose. And that's your choice to choose, hey, I want to get closer to home. And that was a big reason why I took the job here in Vegas, and why, don't tell my boss, but it might be hard to pry me away from here. So you definitely get homesick, but that's where you keep up the conversation with your family. You visit as much as you possibly can, however the heck that ends up happening, or have them come visit. I'll tell you, my family came and visit me all the time when I lived in Colorado, when I lived in Alabama, even here. Because if you think about it, you may live in the middle of nowhere in some small place that, you would never think anybody would ever want to come visit. Your family and friends that do come visit are going to be like, wow, I didn't know this was here, that was here. They love seeing it and checking it out. So it kind of reinvigorates you every time they come and visit, because in the times where you're like, man, this sucks. I hate living here. I hate living in the middle of nowhere. I came from Southern California, all that stuff, but then you're like, well, these people think it's pretty cool. These people love me and they support me. And, and then you're like, well, this place is actually pretty cool. And like, I wanted to get out of Grand Junction so bad. I talked so much smack about Grand Junction my last 6 months there. Now I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, not kidding. Before the pandemic hit, I was trying to plan trips to go back to Grand Junction, just to I think I know I know some people that weren't in the business that are still there, but I think I know 2 people that were at my station that are still there now. But it's more so just even see the place and experience it again and go back to those good times. I still have a lot of friends in Huntsville. I want to go back to Huntsville and visit. You become so entrenched in these areas, and it's really cool. And you learn so much about the rest of the country and how other people live. And it's a huge, amazing experience that you are lucky enough to have someone pay you to do it.
So it sounds like you just adapt to it, and you eventually get used to it after.
Yeah, that's basically the key. In this business as a whole, and it's all about being adaptable. You adapt, and there's going to be times where it sucks, but that's where you lean on your mentors and your friends in the business and say, hey, help me get through this. Or you look at the light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be days when you're like, man, the end of my contract feels like it's 10 years away, but it goes by like that. And then you're like, man, I can't believe how quick that went. And you look back and you're like, wow, it's been 8 years. It's crazy how fast it goes.
Well, with that, Savannah actually had a good question. what are some of the things you wish you knew before taking a job outside California so far?
Yeah. Don't take it too seriously. That's a big one. It's easy to say when you're talking about sports, you know, and I know it's different for people when they're doing news stories and stuff like that. But, you know, and don't be so hard on yourself. You know, I so many times would go and look back at my, you know, early things and stuff like that. Or when I first started, you know, I always went back and I watched everything, and I still do. But I always watched it and would critique it. And I'd be like, oh, you sounded so dumb there. You did this. Like, don't put yourself down, you know, and know that it's a learning process and you're going to grow, and be patient with it too. Enjoy the ride of it all. And I know this is all so cliche, but like, it's all true. Like, they're cliches for a reason. Enjoy that growth opportunity, because, you know, you improve so much in the first month, the second month, 3 months, a year. Like, it's crazy. Each time in your first market, you're going to look back 6 months prior and be like, wow, look at how much I've changed. My voice sounds different. My pacing is different, all that stuff. It's really crazy how much you grow and learn from all that stuff. The other thing, you know, for you guys, it's a little different, because you guys actually, so you guys have a news station there, right? That you do newscasts and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't have that opportunity. So like, for you guys, eat that up. Learn as many of the different like operating systems as you can. What do you guys use as like your newsroom system where you like script stuff and all that?
We use Rundown Creator.
Rundown Creator. Okay, so I don't know that one, but learn that one. If you have an opportunity to learn ENPS or iNews and things like that, learn that. What do you guys edit on? Oh, you what?
Inception. When I was at COC, we used Inception. I don't know if you have ever used that one. No.
Might have. I'll be completely honest. Don't do what I did when I was at COC. I was like, nah, I'll be fine. I'm going on air. I don't need to learn how to do that stuff. I learned later, but don't be that guy. Don't be Jesse in that situation. Learn anything and everything you can, you know, because it'll help you out when you get to your first market. And if you don't, you'll learn it, but you'll be way ahead of the curve if you learn that stuff prior.
Yeah. We also
whatever
it in most of the Adobe like suite, but usually we use like Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
I know some students use iMovie, but I personally use Adobe Premiere, and I know Savannah uses Adobe Rush as well.
Yeah, I've tried editing on my phone before for a few of my packages, just because I shot them on my phone and I wanted the challenge. So yeah, I've taught myself that too.
I think honestly, I think that's a really good idea to start. Like, as much as I hate that that's where the business is going, a lot of it is eventually you're going to be editing on everything on your phone. You're going to be shooting things on your phone. You're going to do all that. Even today, our photog, I was at Golden Knights practice before their game this morning, and our photog was running late, and I was worried, like, basically with COVID protocols, you don't get there in time, they're not going to let you in. So I was worried that he wasn't going to get let in. So I started shooting stuff on my phone, and I was like, I'm going to have to use this in my package tonight if he can't get in, like, you know. So do that. Learn how to do it that way. Learn how to edit on your phone. Try and stay ahead of the curve, because like, you guys are in such an interesting situation where hopefully they're teaching you, you know, the next generation of where things are going to go in this business. But you got to be, again, like I said, adaptable, because things change all the time, and everything's going to start shrinking. You know, I'm talking to you on this massive computer right now. Eventually, again, we're all going to be editing on our phones and doing all that. That news job that I took in LA, they were having us learn how to edit and shoot and do everything on this just in case, you know? So definitely take those opportunities. Learn, you know, your first couple jobs will probably be MMJ jobs. Learn anything and everything you can about anything and everything camera related. Everything. Lighting. All the different settings on your camera. You should know that camera like the back of your hand, you know, and that will help you, because I cannot tell you how many times I've been out on a story and something goes wrong, and I'm like, hang on, and you're sitting there like looking, trying to figure out, and it's like the most awkward thing in the world, because you're like, I don't know what's wrong, and I need this. If you are comfortable with the equipment you have, you'll be able to fix it like that, and you'll avoid so many issues. Trying to think of basically like all the technical stuff that you can learn, whether it's editing software, your camera, you know, things like that, or, you know, the different news systems. That's going to be your biggest learning curve when you get to a place. That and learning the market in terms of the geography and the schools and all those different things like that. But, you know, make sure you know the hardware or the software that you're going to be using. And the more that you know, the more prepared you'll be once you dive into another market. It's on here. Have I ever screwed up when I've been live? If so, how'd you recover? Still screw up while I'm live. It happens. You know, don't make a big deal out of it. Make fun of yourself if it's worthy. You know, you can do it on air. Multiple times I've been trying to spit something out and I haven't been able to. And I'm like, man, easy for me to say, or like, oh, if I could talk today. And I say that on air. Like, I don't care. I think if you try and act like, if you try and hide it, you know, the viewers are going to be like, what the heck? Like, if you're open and honest with them and make them feel like they're a part of the joke, they'll like it. I think I told this story last time, so forgive me, but in my first market, I was like scrambling one time to try and put my sportscast together. I had just come from a football game like 4 hours away, had driven back. I got in the station at 5:45-ish, somewhere around there, and our sportscast hit at 6:20-ish. So I was like, and I had nothing done. I had to scramble to get everything done. I had to fill 3.5 minutes. And so I'm literally sitting there like, like editing, doing all that stuff, like scrambling. I get it all done with like 2 minutes to spare. And like, as you can tell, I have like my suit and everything right here. I wear normal clothes to work and I change into that. So I'm like running into the bathroom, changing. They're screaming like, Jesse, we need you in the studio. I'm running in, trying to like plug my IFB in and get there. I get on the set. They're like 30 seconds. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, I made it. I'm all calm and relaxed. And I look up, the prompter's not on. And our floor director at the time, loved her to death. She was very green. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean what I mean? I was like, the prompter's not on. And I'm kind of freaking out, trying not to be a jerk to her. And she's like, I don't know what you mean. I was like, the prompter's not on. I don't know how else to tell you that. And they're like, 15. And then I hear them 10. And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm like freaking out. And so she's like, oh, when there's 5 seconds left, she figures out what I'm saying. She turns it on. But, of course, in your first market, the equipment's old. So it takes like a minute and a half to turn on, which isn't that long, but in TV, that is 10 years. So no joke, man. They come on, you know, they run what's called a bump, which is the like sports with Jesse Merrick, blah, blah, blah. And then they come to you, you know, and it comes to me and I just go, all right, guys, we don't have our teleprompter, but let's go. And I just started talking and I messed up multiple times and I would just have fun with it. And multiple times, you know, you'll be talking one thing, little inside baseball thing for you guys. When you go for interviews in big markets and things like that, sometimes they'll screw with you while you're doing your run through or whatever. And it's to see how you react, because sometimes your prompter will cut out. Sometimes you won't have scripts, whatever it is. I've heard what ESPN likes to do to their people that they bring in for interviews is they'll have them up on set with someone else doing a sportscast, and they'll have the prompter cut out on them, and they want them to ad-lib and just talk and see how they react. Woo! So just roll with it. Let the people at home know what's going on. It's okay. Like multiple times, even to this day, I've done it in every market that I've been in. The prompter will cut out. My video won't pop up correctly, whatever it is. Something technical won't work right. And I let the people at home know about it. I was like, hey, guys, we were supposed to have this. We don't. Here we go. Or, hey, I don't have my scripts. This is the first time I'm seeing this video. Let's both experience it for the first time. And I talked my way through it with them, you know. Just let them in on it. If you bring them into it, even if you mess up, they feel like they're a part of it and it won't be as big of a deal. I can tell you this, I've messed up so many times throughout my career. I don't think I've been yelled at one time for it.
How you handle it.
Yeah. Maybe I've gotten lucky and I've had some jerks for bosses. So I don't think it's that first one. But, you know, so I don't know. Maybe they're just like, hey, he handled it this way. Another example of, you know, knowing what you're talking about. When I got my job in Huntsville, I started, and then a week later, we were doing this big special show, a half-hour pregame show before Alabama's game against USC in Texas. And I wasn't actually in Texas because I couldn't get the credential in time and all that stuff until when I started. So I was back at the station, was basically going to be like the face of our coverage at the station, anchoring it and tossing to our crew that we had out there. I was supposed to be super simple. They're like, Jesse, it's a layup. You're fine. Well, the signal for our live crew out there died. Again, there's a thing here. 30 seconds before we go on air, it dies. They're like, hey, Jesse, you got to read everything that's in there. Luckily, they had their scripts, but it was all scripted for people that were going to be live somewhere. And so it's all like, hey, down here at this, down, you know, whatever. And I'm like, oh, man. But and I see there's some questions, so I'll try and take a look at some of them in a second here. So I'm on air for the third time in this market as the sports director, thinking I'm trying to be all like, hey, make sure you're the sports director. You're the guy in charge of this department. Make it look good. And I'm like, oh crap, I've never done this before in this market, and I don't know what's in this prompter. Normally you'll be able to read over your scripts when you're doing your sportscast and things like that, so you know what's coming. Yeah. I had no idea what was coming, but prior to me starting there, I knew I had the job. If you're lucky enough, you'll know you have the job like a month before, however long. Yep. Every single day for at least 2 hours a day, I would read about Alabama and USC, which obviously I already knew a bit about USC from being from California, but I read everything I possibly could, looked at their roster. So I knew everything I needed to know about that game, about those teams, all of that, so that I could sit up there and ad-lib if I needed to. Yeah. So in that moment, I was freaking out on the inside, but I knew I had it all up here. So I was like, if I need to ad-lib, I can ad-lib. And I have my co-anchor with me right next to me on the desk, thinking she was going to help me out, and I love her to death. She didn't help me out one bit. She kind of looked at me like, here you go, you're the sports director, which at the end of the day, if it's a bad situation like that, you know, the leader of the department should take over, and I had to. So long story short, I'm reading these things, reading over scripts for the first time, called a cold read, and when you do that, it's not easy to do. And I did it and messed up a couple times, but in one of the breaks, the new news director, and again, I'd been on the job for like a week and a half, the news director comes down and she's like, hey, I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job. She's like, just keep it up. And that, I was like, okay, cool, I got this. As soon as the show ended, I was like, whew, okay. She pulls me into her office and she's like, just so you know, our GM was watching that show and he texted me the whole time and was like, this kid's really strong because his on-air presence is strong. I know all the BS he's dealing with behind the scenes. We lucked out. I don't know what we're paying him, but it's not enough. And she was showing me the text messages and I was like, well, one, it's definitely not enough that you're paying me. But two, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that with me. You know, I appreciated that, you know. And so if you're prepared, you're going to impress people. Here, let me see some of these questions here.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with these.
Okay, cool. Yeah. There's an anchor on TikTok I've seen. He purposely posts his mess ups on camera. He's become pretty popular on the app for it. Yeah. Hey, look, if you can't laugh at yourself,
yeah,
you should be able to laugh at yourself, because if you can't, you're going to have some issues in this business, you know? I wouldn't necessarily post all of them if there's a lot of them when you're looking for a job, because if people see tons of mess ups, they're going to be like, hey, maybe this guy messes up a lot.
Yeah.
But heck yeah, share them, do things like that. You know, again, poke fun at yourself when you can. You know, it makes you more human, because at the end of the day too, your social media channels are for you to interact with people and for people to kind of get a peek behind the curtain of you as a person, your personal life. Like, I'll be honest, I use my social media purely for work. I don't like having, you know, social media unless people that I know, knowing much about my life away from work. Like, I'm still an open book. I'll talk about whatever with people. But there's some weird people out there. You never know. You know, I just don't like getting people. I don't like allowing some people in that way. But if you're comfortable with that, do it, because people and audiences will fall in love with you and it'll help your case for sure. Yeah, let's see. There was a time at CSUN broadcast class that I was anchoring, and the person controlling the teleprompter sped up so fast. Yep. I couldn't read and got lost. Lucky me, I had the script in front of me. Yeah. So
nice.
You'll see, I don't know how many of them in my reel from this one had it, but you know, I always try and carry my scripts with me. I don't like doing it because I don't like the way it looks when you're holding that in your hand or whatever. But it's always a good idea when you're first starting out in the business, or if you have a desk in front of you, put the scripts there in between breaks, in between stories or sound bites, flip over to the current one, because you never know when the prompter is going to cut out, when the person operating the prompter is going to fall asleep, when the person operating the prompter is going to go too fast or too slow or whatever it is. Even, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to be, you know, on camera and I'm going like this, like, because this is like the universal signal for like roll faster or keep rolling. Here though, so like I'm on anchor here, they're like this, so they can't see me. So like one time this happened and I'm sitting there going, snapping while I'm on air, because I was like, I don't know what, like, it was one thing that I hadn't written and I didn't know what I was talking about and didn't have time to read it basically. And so, and I'm like, hey, like trying to get their attention without saying their name, you know? So yeah, make sure you're prepared, long story short, and you'll be fine no matter what happens with the prompter.
Cool,
it is pretty funny. But yeah, so Luke Birdsall, I'm gonna have to check him out. He's only on TikTok though?
I think he's also on Instagram. I mean,
okay,
he posts his regular stuff too, but every single time he posts a blooper, it's like him running into a desk and falling.
Oh yeah.
And it's super, super funny. He just rolls with it.
That's like Shaq.
You have to. That's the thing. Yeah. And like, look at, if you guys ever want to see like how you should just not like take the job seriously, but not yourself seriously, watch Inside the NBA on TNT.
Oh yeah.
Those guys have so much fun. I mean, that is honestly, I think it's me and my sports director talk about it all the time. That's one of the best things on TV. If you want to see how to be in this business, try to emulate those guys. Be yourself, but try to emulate just the way that they're relaxed, you know? And if you can go somewhere where they let you be yourself, do it, because that's the best way to kind of endear yourself to viewers. And it'll be so much more fun doing this of yourself. I'm telling you, I mean, if you're pretending to be somebody else, that's going to get old real quick. But if you're yourself having fun, you're going to love this job.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, like that, because that keeps it real, keeps you into it. You don't get burned out. So yeah. But that's awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, of course, man. Yeah, anytime, guys. I hope I didn't bore some of you.
No, thank you so much, Jesse. Really appreciate you coming and talking.
Of course.
Again.
Yeah. Like I said, you guys have my email.
Yeah.
Hit me with any questions, reels, whatever the heck it is, advice for looking for jobs, all that. Like I'll help you guys out any way that I can.
I actually have a couple questions. I'm gonna email you like all of them. Get them when you can, and they've been. But yeah, I'm gonna take you up on that.
Totally do. And don't worry if I don't get back to you right away. For some of you guys, like I will always get back. It may be a week, it may be whatever, but I will always get back to you whenever I got the time. So yeah, don't think, oh, he's ignoring me. I will totally get back to you. I'm the type, like, if I get a text message, I'll ignore it till I can actually look at it. Otherwise, I'll open it and forget about it, and I'll never respond. So I'm the guy that I don't have read receipts, because if I look at it, they'll see and they'll be like, oh, what a jerk. But yeah, no, I'll always get back to you guys. So seriously, anytime, any way I can help, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. No,
yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
awesome.
Of course, you guys.
And if we're ever in Vegas, can we get lunch with you?
Yeah.
Of course you guys can. You have to. There's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of good food in Vegas. So
there is.
Yeah.
I just asked that because
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, definitely do.
Again. So maybe I might hit you up.
What?
I might be going to Vegas this
weekend. So this weekend, I'm actually going to be gone. I'm going up to Tahoe this weekend to go cover the Golden Knights. So rain check on that. Another weekend, I'm totally down. But I'm going to be. We're going up to Tahoe for work. Yeah, because the Golden Knights are playing an outdoor game up there. So I'm going to be freezing my butt off.
That's okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And
of course.
This, I'm going to edit part of it, but this is going to go up on YouTube as well. We do have other members that were not able to make it tonight. Some of are like really big sports fans that are just like, they weren't able to like make it. So they are very much looking forward to you. So if you do receive any kind of messages or anything from people that weren't on here, they're RTDNA members.
Seriously, yeah. Tell them to hit me up. And I'm always up to talk to sports people. I'm blanking on dude's name, but I talked to a guy that's a freshman there. And we did a Zoom for one of his assignments that he had to do. Like, if I've got the time, I'll sit and do a one-on-one Zoom with you guys if you want. If you've got 50 million questions. So seriously, any of the sports people that are interested, let me know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure.
Thank you.
Of course. You guys have a good night.
Jesse,
You
have a great
too.
night.
Bye bye.
All right, later.